Hello, everybody. We are live here at Turning Point USA. I'm Josh Bernstein, and I'm contributing for TotalNewsNation.com. We're speaking with Bryce Eddy, and Bryce Eddy is part of a documentary. What was the name of the documentary again?
Identity Crisis.
Identity Crisis. And, you know, we really shouldn't have an identity crisis because, let's face it, it's a made-up identity crisis. But we'll go into that a little bit more. So let's talk about this documentary and tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so it's a combination effort between TPUSA and Daily Wire. Daily Wire is releasing it now, and it has to do with the great battle that we're in against the family, which includes confusing kids about their gender and undermining the very fabric of the what the nation is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the Nazis said what? He who controls the youth controls the future, right? That's
right.
What this is about. This is about indoctrinating these kids from a very young age, make them confused about their gender, and then assign, new verbiage and words that don't even make any sense, like sex reassignment. No, it's gender mutilation, okay? Look, every now and then, Mother Nature makes a mistake, and you have an intersex child, or you have a hermaphrodite, but it is such a small, minute amount of people, and they have taken this and they have blown this thing up out of proportion, and it's really detrimental to society. So talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was invented out of whole cloth by guys like John Money and people that were doing experiments on kids and truly warping, destroying who they are. I think it's a grand scheme to undermine our country that really, I'm a Christian boy, so I think it comes from spiritual warfare. And, when you attack the image of God, that's really what they're doing here. The family also is the smallest form of government. And if you can destroy it, you can destroy anything in our nation.
I agree 100%. And that's why the left is so anti-family, anti-traditional family, nuclear family. But also, it's also why they don't have kids, or they have no problem killing their unborn children, because they have no foundational, ability to, comprehend why it is so vitally important to have a male and a female and children in the household so that they can be raised, because every child needs a mother, they need a father, and they need loving parents. And it seems as though another generation possibly is going to be raised on, the internet, and their two families working and things like that. And I understand people have to work and things like that, but wouldn't it be great if we could go back to the 1950s of America, perhaps with our technology, but with our value system locked in place back then?
Yeah, amen. Listen, that was systematically destroyed, and I think it was a great intention there that led us to where we're at today. Again, if you can destroy the family, you can control the world. And we have these globalists, and they're using Marxism and all of that in order to kind of usher in what I'm calling a feudalism 2.0. And so what do? You destroy the great institutions. You destroy America bit by bit, piece by piece, and they've been doing it to us for decades.
And it starts with the Marxist education. They're not schools. They're not schools of thought. They're indoctrination centers masquerading as public school. And the more that we can get these children away from these public schools into charter schools, into homeschooling, whatever it may be, Catholic schools, but even some of the Catholic left, even they're, involved in some of this stuff. My own son, who's 18, he's, been influenced by a lot of this stuff too. We ended up taking him out of a school and moving him to another high school. So these are issues and problems that we shouldn't have as parents. When we were kids, what was it like in the 80s? It was, don't get someone pregnant, don't get into a car wreck, don't drink and drive, don't get arrested, right? Now it's don't change your gender, don't cut off this, don't change that. It's really, really insane how far we have fallen.
Yeah, no wonder they're having an identity crisis, because the things that kids are having foisted on them today are dramatically different than the kinds of problems we had. And their very existence is being questioned right now, and what it means to be a human being and all those sort of things that we kind of understood, having our Judeo-Christian foundation. But praise God for guys like Matt Walsh and folks that have kind of pioneered and been the ones that on the front line took the bullets. If you were early on in this, like I was, I mean, we filmed some of that content a year and a half ago when you were speaking out against the gender nonsense. I mean, people were calling businesses I worked with and calling people and saying that this guy's an LGBTQ hater because I said simply, and I was very intentional and disciplined about this, I said that it is evil to tell children that happiness lies on the other side of puberty blockers and genital mutilation.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And that is such an issue and such a problem. So in this new documentary, Identity Crisis, what are some of the solutions besides some of the things that we talked about? Obviously, we don't want them indoctrinated. We don't want these negative influences. But what else can we do as parents or just as people that care?
Well, listen, I mean, as parents, you need to stand up and you need to be educated on this. There's the people that are fomenting this, right? And some of it's power, some of it's money, some of it's this, Marxist kind of world that they're pushing on us. But a lot of it is hapless parents who have been manipulated by the schools and been told that, would you rather have a, living daughter or a dead son? And all of that is manipulative evil, and they are making billions of dollars because what you're doing is setting these kids up for a lifetime medical subscription. I mean, to halt your puberty using puberty blockers, or to have fake genitals made, and things like that mean that you are a patient for life, and you are going to be sterilized. And all these decisions, these parents are unwittingly, in some cases, being guilted into it and making decisions for their kids who cannot possibly consent to this stuff because they just don't know enough. And, we're unwilling to let them get tattoos before they're 18, but we're going to let them do irreversible things to their bodies.
And I guess the ironic part of this is that whole argument by the left that says, well, what do you want? You want a dead son or daughter? Well, guess what? If you let them do it, eventually you're going to have that dead son or daughter, because look at the suicide rates when they do this, and then they realize that they have been duped by the system, that they have been coerced by media or their friends or peers or whatever it may be, and now all of a sudden they're stuck, and it's irreversible, as you say. And I think personally, and I'll say it publicly, I don't care, I think we ought to arrest the doctors, the nurses, the practitioners, the psychiatrists, the psychologists, the ones that push this type of gender insanity, because if we don't do that, they're going to continue to do it because it's about this. They don't care about the kids. It's about making money. It's about creating a pharmaceutical company's wet dream, sorry to use those words, of money trail coming in. There's no money in cures. There's only money in treatments. And kids are the most vulnerable. It is sadistic that they're doing this to these children.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and I think criminal prosecution is the answer. I think these things should be forbidden by law. I don't think that anybody should have quote-unquote gender reassignment surgeries. I don't think that it's right for adults either, though that is a different argument. But it's certainly, there's moral clarity surrounding how we treat children, and there's no way on earth that should be acceptable. I'm watching now, so, they lie to people and they pretend that suicidal ideation is very high and then very low after these surgeries. And we know that, well, we know that that's not the truth, because what they do is they take these children that are in the honeymoon period of being affirmed and being told, yes, this was the right decision. Look at you. This is wonderful. But even some of the people like Jazz Jennings, who's been highlighted,
yes,
that entire journey, you're seeing that turn, and you're seeing people like heroes like Chloe Cole and others sure, that have come out, and more every day are detransitioning, and more realizing that, just a few scant years later, they still have their identity issues. In fact, they're even worse now, and they didn't become a good-looking boy or a good-looking girl. They're a weird facsimile of it, and that is really devastating when they finally realize that that's not the dream that they had envisioned. And God intends us to be unique,
male or female,
to be who we are, and that includes, an infinite number of personalities and types and people, but there are two sexes, and gender is a made-up term.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And I think what we have to understand is that as they go through and they do these things, and then they realize that they're never going to be happy because it's an internal thing. It's not an external thing. It's an internal thing. And I think they need help.
That's right.
Look, back in the day, I'll say it, when we didn't have kids like this, no one was really around talking about these things. And if they were, I hate to say it, they were probably put in a mental institution and pumped full of Thorazine, if you want to know the truth. Now, I don't know if we need to do that now, but I think we need to have a lot of help for a lot of these kids. But remember, these kids also, what do they say, 95% outgrow it after puberty anyway?
Yeah, it's well north of 90% by, all of the available data and evidence. And I have 3 daughters, and my girls had those periods of just being bombarded by hormones, trying to figure out their place in the world. That is a difficult time. It is natural for them to be asking, who am I? And if you have during those times teachers and professionals preying on them, grooming them, and coming and telling them, well, maybe you're not a girl, maybe you're a boy stuck in a girl's body. And, that is a great wickedness, because those people should be telling them that God made you in his image and you are a uniquely beautiful creature. Let's play to your strengths and let's find out who you are.
Absolutely. When does the documentary come out, and where can people go to look for it and find it?
Yeah, so Daily Wire does a great job with their subscription service. I believe it's just been released, or it's about to be released on their platform. And then, of course, like they did with What Is a Woman and others, it got released for a time on X, and then went to a wide and available release. And they've done a really, really good job. Starting to displace Hollywood and all the evils that they've done to indoctrinate us.
Gotcha. Well, Bryce, where can folks go to learn more about you and some of the important work that you do?
Yeah, well, please join my mailing list, and, we'll keep you apprised of our shows and the things that we're doing. BryceEddy.com, BryceEddy, if you want to join and find out what we have. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm Super Bryce Eddy and Bryce Eddy1 on X. If you want to listen to the show, it's wherever you consume podcast content. I'm there.
All right. Excellent. Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure getting a chance to sit down and meet with you.
Yeah,
I wish you nothing but the best of luck.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Hey, to God be the glory.
God be the glory. God bless.